We wrote to wife, we are waiting for her response. Birth year 78.
Yes, exactly.
Moscow.
Moscow.
Native.
Native.
Moscow indigenous.
Moscow indigenous.
Where did you study?
It's school 682.
Which one?
682 secondary school.
How many grades?
9.
What next?
Vocational school number 30 for mechanic repairman, then Timirya's Academy. But I didn't finish. I was jailed. Just like before.
Why imprisoned and why like before?
Well, I violated the law of Russian Federation.
What exactly?
I started with juvenile. So 85ths, that is 85ths, 90s, 95ths, 97ths, 5th, 144ths, 158th.
What did you steal?
Car radio.
I see. Okay, how good is it? How much did they give you?
2 years.
Did you serve full? Did you like it?
Well, yes.
Where did you see it?
Iksha.
Iksha?
Yes, juvenile.
Oh, how old were you?
Well, 17.
So you left at 19.
Well, yes, 19.
Well, they transferred you from undergrad
For
to...
adults, yes, for 5th Central. A former LTP, then they called it a foreigner because whatever, Sheremetyev 1, Sheremetyev 2, there were a lot of African Americans transporting heroin with them inside.
Inside?
Well, yes. Well, so what? Just them, according to their stories, that when they arrived, they say they were stopped at the terminal. They were seen, or someone fainted, that their capsules with this heroin burst, and were some who even managed to get to Central, and so many people just used.
Yeah, I see. As I understand it, more than one trip.
No, not just one
How
trip.
many?
6, 8 convictions, 6 trips.
8 convictions, 6 trips.
Yes.
It will be probably interesting. So, second trip. You came out at 19. What year is that?
In 97.
In 97, yes.
Well, 2 months later, I committed SIFT. SIFT, that is, I had a whole bucket there. So these are 158s, 61, 222, 28. This is SIFT, this is robbery, this is a weapon. The weapon as it were, and the ammo, they framed me on that, and drugs. They gave me 4.5 years probation.
Why did they give you so little?
Well, the lawyers did their best. Requested term was 12. Well, thanks to good lawyers. From the golden, and they say from the golden 5, they were called at the time, lawyers.
Where did you get the money for such lawyers?
Well, not me, relatives helped. They collected it, they say, little by little. Well, that's what they did. Well, it worked. Well, firstly, the fact that I have not been acknowledged as fully sane.
What does it mean?
I mean, I just went through the Serbsky Institute. That is, at the time of the crime, either did not realize the fact of the crime or did not realize that there, as they say, there was like a full moon, like a wolf. That is, I changed my shoes, so to speak, I changed my clothes.
Where did you sit?
Where, let me think. The first one was in Murmansk.
Is this from Moscow to Murmansk?
Murmansk, because it's kind of a long term.
Murmansk.
Murmansk,
Ah,
where
Murmansk.
the Kursk sunk. It was me who was transported because for more than 4 years, if they gave it, they transported me by a traffic light. That is with longer terms, like further.
What is a traffic light?
Well, the traffic light is like the regions are further away. There are some that are close to Moscow, up to 200, 300 kilometers, and some that are up to 1,500 kilometers or more. The further, the better, as they say.
I see. Okay. As far as I understand, you had a good time in Moscow.
Yes.
When did the prosecution begin?
Prosecution, yes. On the 5th Central, I was sitting in Vyborovskaya 4835. The prosecution was, I spent 9 months there.
How is it like in Moscow?
As you come in, as you show yourself, that's how you will sit.
How did you come in?
How normal it is, I was accepted.
You were still young.
Firstly, to the assembly. From the assembly, they say they check the state of health, all the doctors, all the analysts passed it. Then, so to speak, adaptation took place. In 2 weeks, you will slowly... there 30, 40 or more people gathered and then scattered them into huts, to cells. I just ended up in a cell. First, I ended up in 306.
How many people are in prison there?
I don't know, but at the 5th Central, about 12 bunks. There were about 30, 40 people sitting. We slept in 2 shifts.
As far as I understand, everything was there. Booze, drugs.
Of course, there was everything. At that moment, there was everything. Of course, there were drugs. Telemanager, the road worked. The guards worked as couriers. They drugged everything inside. If you have money, you can have anything.
But Moscow is rich and there is money. Is that why everything happened?
Yes, exactly.
Why exactly?
Yes, exactly. I didn't use drugs at that time.
Did you participate it?
No, I didn't use it. That is, I smoke just weed, but I haven't used hard drugs.
Got it, okay. What was interesting about prison?
What was interesting in prison? Communication.
Can't you communicate at the freedom?
No, there is different communication. They're completely different. Life was, they say, in a square indoors. It had its own world, its own location, its own rules, its own walks, its own TV channel, something like that. Its own connection.
What is own TV channel?
Well, a TV channel is like what you see is called a TV channel. The fact that in freedom you see one thing, but there it's completely different in a compressed format.
I see.
Bobov Angela. This is me just... Regarding Angela, yeah, this is an interesting story. Not that I heard about her. I just even heard how
What is
she
the
worked.
second trip?
Yes, it was during the second trip when I had already been convicted. I was sent to prison for retrial. It was Presnya. There I was on special duty. There were about 70 of us in the cell. We had bunk there. The same thing, we slept there almost in 3 shifts. Everyone was waiting for their transfer. Someone wrote letters. There was also life. There was already life there. And they say they sat on suitcases and waited for their departure to the zone. Like in Stolypino and then by zones. One fine evening they sat as if drinking, that as if in a circle drinking strong tea, and simply told a story that there is not a legend in the prison, but a reality that two, what should we call them, homos. Two homosexuals, or what is correct. 2 homosexuals who did not share his daddy, who supplied them there, who loved them, they killed him. And of these two thems, one was named Angela. The 2 of them were sitting at the transfer, and people say that they had a face, that the fashion model was just not even close, that they had a simply angelic voice, and that their figure can drive you insane. You can spread it, you can get goosebumps there, you can even just like a maniac, he would immediately attack here. There was one minus. The top half is woman. I can't say what size her breasts are. I just heard her say. Let's get to that first. But the bottom didn't get there, it didn't have time to perform the operation on itself to change specifically, so that it was specifically female.
So there were boobs.
Boob where? Face, and below was what was still left of the former. That is, from the man.
By the way, an interesting question is how they should be maintained.
Just like every other gay there, in a separate from a normal people cell. But not with the same guys after surgery, but
I see.
in this category, and the situation is such that in the evenings after the evening check, it was Angela who walked around Presnya, around the prison, as they say, on a call to fellow inmates who had money, and if anyone she walked on her shoes from below, everyone saw her. When the pins rose, you could see her in the window through the small holes. You could see, and if the route was open, they saw her in a skirt, everyone in stockings with a handbag. She just walked as if, well, I don't know how.
Just crazy.
Yeah, they pushed each other away so that they had to look at her from the breaks. Well, that is from the doors. They're specifically just let me look there and listen, come on, let me look quickly. And many like they run faster from joy, and they say to the toilet for their own. Well, they work there from memory.
20 shirts in TikTok for everyone. They will get a lot of views on, but we will have 10 views.
But in fact, the situation is such that you were more attracted to her. What she was walking on the shoes is not like now on Louboutins, but precisely on the thin heels. Walk on the concert and everyone is just, ooh. Her service costs from $50, which is just,
Her or him? How should I speak?
it. I wasn't there yet. I wasn't such a sufferer to order such a thing for myself. So from $50 to 2,000 per night. Well, that was the price. So constantly, when she walked, everyone just hold it, which as if the old convicts had already been there for 2-3 years or more.
It's clear. Served the full term?
No, earlier. Health conditions have shortened the term.
Got it. Okay. What year did you come out?
2001.
What were you doing?
At first, I came to my senses from something like a business trip. Well, I quickly came to my senses, and in 2003 I did something weird again. But this time it was drugs. And they say I caught fresh air, and with fresh air I caught with drug use. Friends, comrades, well, here I am to blame.
228.
228, heroin for 3 years.
Heroin.
Yes,
How much heroin did you had?
1.5. 1.5 grams, yes. That's what I was,
Where did you get the money for heroin?
where it happened, or someone shared or earned, sell things, exchange it for money, and bought drugs from these same African Americans at that time, drugs.
Who were your parents?
Ordinary pensioners. Dad was a driver, mom was a janitor. At that time they were all retired.
Got it. Got it. This time full term or earlier again?
Full term. This time in 2006 I was released.
Then?
Went to study at Timiryazev Academy. I met my wife, my second wife. Before I had a common law wife, I met my second wife, and we had a son. My father-in-law was a very good man. May he rest in peace. He got me into the Timiryazev Academy. Well, to become smart. He got me in for tertiary education. I went to study. I studied until the 5th year. And then something bad happened again.
What something bad happened again?
Again, I stood up against the law.
Was he such a bad law you're all against
Well,
it?
that's it.
And what was enforced time?
First time it was Article 186, forgery of the state signs.
What have you forged?
Money, I didn't forge it myself. Through the internet websites, people were selling fake money. Banknotes of like a joke bank. Some craftsman made them. This payment terminals were used to send money to your phone. One-armed bandits in the regions, even in Moscow, gambling machines. Well, insert 500s and thousands, so inserted it into this one, into the exchanger, pressed the button there, lost 50 rubles and withdraw real money, and this fake money remained in the exchanger. And this is how I earned money to live.
And how much did you earn?
I won't lie, about 300,000-400,000 for the entire time.
How long have you been like this?
Well, there were so many approaches to all sorts of devices. Well, about 2-3 months, but not every day.
And they arrested you right next to the ATM.
I was arrested in this, so they arrested me at Domodedovo airport. Not in Domodedovo itself, it was already arrested at home. It's just that I ended up in Domodedovo. I also cashed out this money and the cameras seemed to get me. And they came to my home.
How much did they give?
They gave me 3 years. They gave me 3 years probation. At that time they gave me 3 years probation.
Understandable. And
so the next thing was given to me. And the next... So it turns out 2022. So it turns out 2022 I have that is 158. Part 3, I took someone else's card, I cashed it contactlessly. It's 1,000 ruble, there was money. I was drunk, not sober. That's...
Are you talking about the fifth trip? What year?
That is 2022, it turned out. So, the situation is that simply withdrawing money contactlessly, as they say, I bought up to 1,000 rubles for myself and they're up to 6,000. I just withdraw from someone else's card and that person filled a statement with the police. They also found me on cameras and they arrested me. So this is how there was a prosecution. I was under non-departure agreement. There was an investigation. Then should I talk about Wagner, right?
Of course.
Then I received an offer that, don't you want to serve and defend your homeland? So I agreed. I didn't immediately agree. They said that in return they would remove all my articles, all my criminal records as I were.
Were you in a jail or not?
No one's sitting there. I wasn't sitting there anymore. I wasn't put there anymore.
When did you go to Wagner?
I was hired at Wagner on June 16. I was already sitting on the bus. That is, there was a proposal that all my criminal records would be expunged. I would be like a normal, ordinary person, like a Russian citizen.
2022?
Not 2022. I had a criminal record, but 23, they gave me 3 years with probation, and 3 years probation with probation for 2 years, something like that. Like, would I go to check it in constantly, go to report once a month? If there were violations, I was forced to report once every 2 months, and received an offer to go to alternative service. So if I go to an alternative service, they will immediately take away all my criminal records. That is, I will be a normal person. There was even a joke. They said you can even go to the police. That's nonsense. I came there. They took me right away on June 16. We arrived. That is, they put us on a bus and arrived in Molkino in Krasnodar territory. We were at the training ground. At the training ground, they took all the tests from us, took away all the documents, all the phones, because there was no communication there, no filming, nothing was allowed to be done. They put on a bracelet because I had hepatitis C. We were called umbrella, like a storm unit. We had to go forward at the very first stormtroopers.
Umbrella.
Everyone was there. The penultimate one, they say the penultimate batch, everyone who wasn't sick was sent there. Even the doctors were there. People who came just to help, as it were.
So did you go to assault?
We were at the training grounds and we were taken out, as I say, to Belarus. First we were in Molkino, then in Kantera. In Kantera we met people who came from a protest march from Rostov to Moscow when Prigozhin arranged in terms of the fact that...
What did they say about the march?
For the march, that there was dissatisfaction, that is, was like Shoigu, that there were not enough weapons, that Prigozhin said that he was tired, that there were simply people there, that many people died there defending the interests of Russia. And he simply began to withdraw the troops. As he was withdrawing the troops, many people there know that they warned the Ministry of Defense which way they would withdraw, and on this road they were anti-tank mines. There were tripe wires everywhere. About this, they say, everyone find out. They caught it even when they are correctly called the sappers cleared all the mines. They caught this one who was responsible for this road from the ministry. He admitted all this, and if under this noise we were taken to Belarus. So they wouldn't cover us on this counter. They took us to Belarus.
What were you doing in Belarus?
In Belarus, when we arrived there, we settled down, and they say began to settle into the camp. Prigozhin arrived there with his assistant. He said that he welcomes everyone. He is glad to see everyone, so to speak. Well, he didn't explain specifically. He just said our task is to teach Belarus, that is to make the Belarusian army stronger. So the second direction is Somalia. The rest will, as they say, go home and will sit waiting for calls.
Were you released into the
No,
city
they
there?
didn't release.
Were in the tent the
Yes,
whole time?
we're in the military unit.
No one was allowed into the
No
city?
one. We had tents there and bought food there. Yet there, of course, the local people made a lot of money from us because the prices were 3 or 4 times more expensive than a regular store. If there was a regular energy drink like not Manta, Gorillas, it cost 65 rubles in the store. They sold this can for about 250 rubles. Even ordinary cigarettes are the same. If they cost about 150 rubles in Russian money, they cost about 450 rubles there.
What a brotherly people.
Like this.
Good ones.
Everyone needs help. Here we have children. That's where they were dissatisfied. They said at one point they lowered the prices, removed some store, installed others. But then again, after some time, everything went up again.
It's clear. Where are you going after Belarus?
We didn't knew about it. First of all, who went on the march, who they returned. They had a tribunal with the commanders and who went, but they didn't let us there.
What did you even say about the march? You support it? Like the Wagners?
We didn't knew about it, first of all. Who went on the march, how they returned. They had a tribunal with the commanders and who went, but they didn't let us there.
What was the tribunal?
Was not described, was not discussed. There was prohibited discussion. There was the most important thing, 3 golden rules in Wagner. Alcohol is the first warning. This is a fine. The second, flow execution. That is execution in front of everyone, and demonstrative execution. Drugs are immediately execution in front of everyone. Demonstrative execution and violent actions among the civilian population, the same thing.
Did you witness someone being
Yes,
killed?
there was a man was executed who escaped with the ammunition and a rifle. I don't know what they say there. He just went insane. He took local hostages with a small child and they looked for him for 3 days. From our echelon, not from ours, from the neighboring one. Tankers finally caught him in the forest and tied him up.
What was he doing with this family?
Kept them in fear, didn't do anything like that to them, just kept them in fear, feed them and all this, just kept them as it were.
Yeah. Okay. Hostages.
Well, yes, he held hostages.
So what brought him back?
Well, they brought him, tied him up. At first he was there. Well, they beat him pretty good. He was conscious, and they brought him, and the senior, Chari, he explained it to
What
us.
did the senior's call sign?
Chari.
Chari.
Yes, the chief was there, and also Chari. And Chari explained to everyone in understandable words that this is how it happened. This is the situation. Should I tell you about the fighter specifically? Like that I made a shot?
And who shot?
I shot.
Well, tell me.
In general, somehow they choose me from my company. They told the commander called me and they told me to punish him.
And why you?
So probably, I don't know if the card was wrong or something.
No, did you vote it or
They
something like
didn't
that?
shoot, they didn't vote. They say that this is the company commander
Was he in your company?
was not in my company. Just as they say, the card fell on my company and they called me and I carried out this order.
Did you kill him?
Yes, I shot twice in the chest.
What did they give you?
Yes,
Handgun?
I had a PM, and when I saw this face, his eyes, how he was on my hand, when Chari told me if you don't do it, you yourself understand that.
What if? Wait.
Well, if you don't kill, I've never shot at a person, but here there was just a creature sitting that just had to be killed.
If you hadn't killed, what would have happened?
It would be about the same with me.
If you were the one who had to fulfill, you would not fulfill.
He would have killed me and not even blinked.
How many people did you have there?
Then, I don't know, maybe around 250 or 300 men.
So what? You approach him, he's tied
I
up?
shot him twice in the chest when I was looking at him. When he was looked me in the eyes, I shoot at him and a tangent passed across his face when he whispered something to me when I hit him in the head.